Welcome to the Financial Freedom Secrets Show. This is your host, Jackson Millan, the Wealth Mentor, helping business owners create financial freedom faster by mastering the language of money. Want to see how well you're tracking towards financial freedom? Complete our 40-point financial performance scorecard at wealthhealthcheck.com.au. That's wealthhealthcheck.com.au. The average score for most business owners is 18 out of 40. So complete the scorecard now and see how well you're tracking towards financial freedom. G'day guys, Jackson Millan, the Wealth Mentor here, and I am here for another episode with the big man himself, head of Aureus Accounting, Rakesh Nairn. How you doing, my friend?
Pretty good, man. How are you?
Yeah, mate, keeping the dream alive. You know the story. So, Rakesh, we were having a conversation earlier about a common complaint that business owners come to us with, that is that they feel like they're not getting the right advice or the right support from their accountant. They talk that their accountant isn't proactive, they're not really delivering the kind of value that they would have expected, and they feel like potentially they're just another number in their accountant's business. So, Rakesh, give us a little bit of a lay of the land. What's your experience with this, particularly for the clients that you've got coming on board to work with you?
I think almost every person we speak to has the same gripe. They're like, oh, accountant's not proactive enough. And they come up with these things where they probably don't catch up with their client, with their accountant more than once a year. And that's usually around tax time to sign off on tax returns and stuff. Or if they're looking at buying a property, they probably reach out at that point to get copies of the documents. I think being proactive, it means a few different things to different clients. And at the end of the day, it comes down to probably an education piece from the accountant to their client. So what I mean by that is, are the accountants actually sharing with their clients the kind of things that they've worked on, whether it be projects or the kind of work that they've done for existing clients? That then gives the other clients an idea of, well, this is what you've helped Billy Bob over there with, so you may as well do the same for me. And our situation is kind of similar. Something I have recognized is that the family barbecue tends to be a good source of let's call them war stories. What we need to understand is that what may have worked for Homer is not necessarily going to work for Bart. Everyone's circumstances are different. The number of times people have come across as prospects and they're like, oh, my accountant didn't want to do something, or my John Smith and I, we do the same work, we earn the same money, and he's doing way better off than I am. And when I asked the accountant about it, he couldn't explain why. I think that's a big misconception, because people don't understand that their particular circumstances are different to every other person out there. So part of understanding a client's requirements when they come on board is basically, let's do a pulse check of where you are right now. Thorough analysis of things like their revenue, their profitability, what sort of cash reserves they've got, and then looking at into the future, what do you actually want to achieve? Like, what does success look like for you? Because I can guarantee you, Jackson, success for you and success for me would probably be at different levels. And that's not to say that what I'm looking for is better than what you're looking for, or vice versa. It's just everyone has a specific end goal that they're chasing, like a visual that they've painted in their mind. And I guess not many accountants can or put the time into appreciating that that's where the client's needs lie, and then trying to service those. Too often what I found working in a bigger practice is that services are pushed one way. It's not a two-way conversation, so to say.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? And I think the underlying thing here, look, what you described is really key. Clients don't know what they don't know. And this is exacerbated by the fact that the vast majority of accountants that I've met in my experience are very good technically, but they're not very good at communication and helping their clients understand the concepts that they do each and every single day. And for this reason, the clients glaze over and they may not have understood it, or it may not have even been explained well, or it may not have been explained at all. And then that ultimately leads the client to being having there's ambiguity. And that ambiguity is going to be filled at some point in the future. And I think it's important that a good accountant should be really great technically, but they should be really good at strategy and really good at education and communication. And that's a bit of a unicorn that we need to look for in an individual. Like Rakesh, you've worked in accounting for a long time. Aside from yourself, how many other accountants have you met that have all of those kind of skill sets wrapped up?
They're far between the average grey cardigan wearing the someone who's like a dungeon master, so to say. Um, Look, man, there are some really good accountants out there, and I feel like the the majority of them are grouped together with the stereotypical, grey cardigan wearing person who's just looking for clients to cut checks. I don't think they have checks anymore, but you know, I don't think that an accountant should look at their client as pulse with a checkbook,
Mm,
and uh, that's traditionally the picture we've been painted, or the
sure.
stereotype that's been painted for us. Um, sure, we do like to use the accountantese and explain things in jargon, and I think a fair few of us are actually working toward kind of improve on that. But coming back to your question, there aren't many,
Mm,
and the ones that do go out of their way are probably hard to come across
sure.
anyway, because they love working with the clients that they do work with. Um, yeah, I'd say they are out there. You just have to ask the right questions, and uh,
That's a good point, Rakesh. So, what kind of questions should an affluent business owner looking for a great accountant be asking?
oh, so you're bringing out the big questions now, man. So I think just an understanding of first of all, how often are we going to catch up? Right now, majority of accountants would be catching up with their clients once, maybe twice a year. With us, we have a bare minimum of 4 times a year. Uh, the reason being is that a year is a long time, a lot can happen, and by the time you actually look at trying to make take any corrective action, like the damage has been done. So if you do at a minimum a quarterly catch up, at least you're able to get insights from your accountant as to how you're tracking business wise, and there's enough time to rectify that. Or if you have a question, pick up the phone and give your accountant a call, ask for that insight before you enter into a transaction. Because 9 times out of 10, once you've entered into a particular transaction or you've done something, it's difficult to reverse it. So having that little bit of foresight to say, okay, well, let me check with the accountant. Um, what I find is that a deterrent for most people doing that is they don't want to get a fee from their accountant. So which brings me to my next point. And if your accountant's not charging you based on like a fixed package for services rendered, um, giving you clarity of cash flow, then you should be looking at trying to establish some sort of arrangement like that. Most accountants will bill once a year or in a lump sum, and it's after the fact because they do most of their billing on a time basis. So if you have foresight of what your accounting fees are going to be, that's a good indication that uh, this is probably an accountant I want to work with, because you're not going to break the bank working with them. Um, Another thing is they're not transactional, so they're not looking to just make a quick buck off you. They're wanting to build a lifelong relationship. The way I see that working is, if we're as accountants engaged and invested in our clients' businesses, then as their businesses grow, so do ours.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense, mate. I think that's great. So, what about on the flip side? What are the potential telltale signs of a bad accountant or maybe somebody who doesn't align with these things that you're talking about, Rakesh?
First, I think the first thing I'd say is anyone that's just wanting to give you advice over the phone and not put it in writing, that's probably a cowboy, and their advice isn't really the greatest. Um, Fees is generally one that I see come up and it gets debated on a lot.
Mm.
Accountants go through a fair bit of training and upskilling to get to a point where they're able to provide advice and guidance to clients. Um, if someone's charging you a low fee just so that they can compete on price, that's probably a telltale sign that what you're being promised is not what's actually going to be delivered.
Mm.
When you compete on price, it's a race to the bottom pretty much. So if you're paying uh, a reasonable fee to your accountant, and reasonable may be different in the accountant's mind compared to your mind as a consumer. But if you're paying for the services and you're getting value out of those services, then I'd say that that's something that to keep in mind. Also, uh, they've got a structured plan in place for you. So
Mm.
what I mean by that is they don't just throw services at you. As I mentioned before, they'll put together like this is where you are, this is where you're wanting to get to, and they put in place a strategic plan that helps you get
Yes.
there, regardless of the size of your business. That's something to keep an eye out for as well.
Makes sense. I'm also going to add another one in the mix there, Rakesh, because we've seen a lot of cases of this. Is that I think for many people, they don't realize that their accountant actually can't give them financial advice in terms of investments and retirement, property. And they can advise on the tax side of things of property, but not actual property. And we've seen a lot of cowboy accountants recommend schemes like property schemes, off the plan properties, tax avoidance schemes in terms of investing in tree plantations and bloody almond plantations and offshore tax things, and even other types of investments. So it's really important to understand that unless your accountant has a financial services license and is providing you with that advice in writing, then you really need to be mindful because there are some dodgy people out there selling some dodgy things. So really important to be
I might
mindful
add
of,
one
guys.
more as well
Please.
on that, man. Um, what I find is accountants tend to keep their cards close to their chest and they don't play nice with a lot of other advisors. So let's assume you're a client. If you've got other advisors, particularly financial advisor, maybe you've got a mortgage broker, you've got a solicitor, and you've got a separate bookkeeper. Um, Inherently, we are very risk averse. And what that means is we don't play nice, so we don't like to deal with others very well. If your accountant is reluctant to deal with your other advisors, that's probably a sign that you might be paired with the wrong person.
Mm.
Ideally, your advisors, regardless of whether they're accounting or a non-financial advisor, they should always have their focus solely around getting you the best outcome, regardless of what's involved or who the other players are involved in that mix of advisors.
That's really important. I've had a number of instances where I've had a run-in with accountants who refuse to disclose information even when their clients had authorized it, just because they wanted to be brats. And it makes it really difficult. And look, it is a big point of frustration for a lot of people that come to us, is that they acknowledge like, hey, my accountant always disagrees with anybody else, any other advice that I get anywhere else. And they can't explain why. That's frustrating. It's hard. It's hard enough as it is to get good advice, let alone to try and navigate conflicting advice. So that's always a challenge. So Rakesh, here's the opportunity for you to sell why you're so good, mate. I want you to run us through your philosophy, your process. What makes you such a great accountant, and why do our clients have such a great experience working with Aureus Accounting?
I think it's because we take a holistic view on our clients' affairs. So first of all, we do an overview of where they're at right now, and that's not just looking at financials. We'll look at things like their structuring, uh, what state are their books in? Do they actually need to have some sort of touch-up work done? And then we look at, okay, well, what's the desired end goal? And then while we do create a pretty much a map between where they are now to where they want to be, we do realize that there needs to be some flexibility along the way. We have accountability with our clients throughout a 12-month period. So there's an initial onboarding meeting. We help them set in place a budget for the year ahead. And then every quarter, we're holding them accountable to set targets that we've set. uh, at the start of the period. In those meetings, we have a structured agenda that we work through, which is holistic in that we allow for them to manage their cash flow, cover off on upcoming liabilities, as well as looking out for things like the tax man, and then also if there's any other issues that they'd want to be able to cover off on. If we're not the best suited solution for them, we'll always recommend that they touch base with either one of our panel partners or one of our sister businesses. And then the other thing is I like to deliver value for our clients. So we're constantly seeking feedback from our clients. And if there's any improvements that we can I guess, pick up in our service provision, then we're always trying to revise and redo. We also have a single touch approach to preparing accounting. This is not to be confused with single touch payroll. Ideally, what we want to be able to do for all of our clients is if we're looking after their bookkeeping, we are pretty much closing their books every month so that come end of year, we can have a quicker turnaround on preparing the year end tax. We're keeping our clients abreast of everything that's happening in their business on an ongoing basis. And at any one point in time, they should be able to look at their financials and have an idea of roughly how they're tracking within a week of their actual data. We also do tax planning, and ideally, the tax planning is so that they're paying the right amount of tax, not more. We don't want our clients tipping the tax man, and by saving on tax and basically freeing up some cash flow, maximizing profits, they're able to then generate wealth outside of their business. And that's the whole philosophy here, is that the business or your business should really be seen as a vehicle to generate wealth for the longer term. And then we work with our business coaching business and the wealth business to help clients get a 360-degree experience in terms of achieving financial freedom or time freedom or just peace of mind, whichever is the most appealing, or all three.
I love it, mate. And this is the important part of aligning with professional partners who share your values and what you're actually trying to achieve. The common complaint that we see for so many business owners is that their accountants are one-dimensional, are just trying to save on tax, because that is the only measure in which they are validating themselves by. They're like, oh, Mr. and Mrs. Client, I saved you $50,000 this year on tax. It's okay for you to pay my $10,000 invoice because it's a 5x ROI, so to speak. But our clients often get frustrated because that limits their ability to buy property and borrow money to invest and grow their wealth and do all the things that they want to do. They go to the bank and the bank says, sorry, computer says no because you're not making any money. And I think this is the whole idea that once you get to a certain stage of your business and wealth journey, that you must have a holistic board of advisors who are working together to help you elevate your position and make the most of the opportunities whilst optimizing as you go. And I think that's what we do best. So, mate, I think you've demonstrated that really well. So, Rakesh, if people want to get in touch with you and have a conversation around how they could potentially work with you and the accounting team, or discuss any of the other offers that we have, how are they best to reach out?
First point of call would be to go to the wealthhealthcheck.com.au. And we've got a scorecard there, 40-point scorecard. Clients can get a decent idea of where they're tracking. Don't be alarmed by the score that you get. It's always something that can be improved on. And the other place, believe it or not, is on TikTok. Rakesh Tax Advisor. You can find me on there. And of course, if you hit up our website, aureusfinancial.com.au.
Fantastic, mate. I appreciate you for all the great work you do for our clients. And guys, if you watch this video and you've got value, make sure you jump on wealthhealthcheck.com.au, reach out to us, let's have a conversation and see how we can help you. Rakesh, thanks again, mate, and we'll catch you soon.
Appreciate your time, Jackson. Take care.